Hello, everybody. Welcome in to the NBA Front Office Show. It's just me today. No Trevor Lane, but it's Friday. You know what that means. Front Office Friday. Let's go. We are going to get in the show today, even though it's just me. We know this tends to be a little bit rocky, but as we know, I am the captain now. So we're going to get into all your questions. So guys, start drop those questions in the chat. I'll be pulling from there as best we can. We can talk playoffs. We still got one conference final series still to be decided. The Knicks forced to game 6, which is a lot of fun. We're happy about that. And then we get into the NBA finals, if you guys want to start a little bit on that. And then any offseason questions, anything else you guys want to get into here, we'll be going for a little bit for a while. So it's going to be it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have a lot of fun today. We are going to start off with AJ starting us off with the super chat. Appreciate you. Trey Murphy III for Austin Reeves in a 2031 first. It's close-ish. I think the money is off. I think the Lakers would have to send a little bit more money out. But it's close-ish. I probably, if I'm the Pelicans, I'd probably pass on that just because I think Murphy has a little bit more upside. And future Lakers picks sound good, but the Lakers have this tendency to reset very, very quickly when they do things. So that makes it a little bit tougher to put a ton of value in their early in their first round picks, I should say, with that. So let's see. Just gonna flag a bunch of questions here, and then we'll get into a bunch of stuff as we go. Let's see here. Jovian Morales asks, what's up, Keith? Possible for Celtics to get Giannis without giving up Jaylen Brown, maybe a 3 or 4 team trade? Possible, yes. Likely, extremely unlikely. I don't think that'll be the way that'll go down. I think that's too much of a challenge to make the math work in a trade like that. You'd really be talking about Holiday and Porzingis going somewhere. That's how you would match on the salary. Is Boston going to put in the requisite picks? How are they going to plus up the talent going to Milwaukee? I don't think that would be the direction that would go. I think it would have to involve Jaylen Brown would be my guess. With this, let's see here. Jazz Singh asks, 3-team trade, Magic get Rui Shake 55, Utah gets Dalton 2031 first, 16 from Magic. Lakers get Walker Kessler and KCP. Why would the Magic give up 16 in this trade? So that's where it falls apart. For me, that's nothing there is returning the value of the 16th pick. Rui Hachimura is a nice player, but he doesn't really have a spot on the Magic. They already have Paulo Banchero and Franz Wagner. They're not going to give up the 16th pick for a guy like Rui Hachimura. That wouldn't make sense. Utah's getting really great value out of this with a couple picks, and then the Lakers get really good value with Kessler and KCP, but it all falls apart on the Magic side with that one. JT or J1, I think when can players get traded? Do you not have working E's or A's on your keyboard? When can players get traded back to the team that traded them? 1 year. 1 year trade restriction generally on those types of situation there. IL Farkash says, should the Mavs target DG in a Cavs trade? I'm assuming that is Darius Garland. I think that's probably going to be super expensive for them to get Darius Garland. Can't really play with Kyrie Irving. That wouldn't be a good backcourt. Their idea is let's get into getting a stopgap point guard, maybe somebody who can also play off ball that you can plug in with Kyrie when he returns to the lineup. So I don't think Darius Garland's the direction that they would go. MJ says, after the finals, when can trades start happening? The teams are out. The 27 teams that are already eliminated, they can make trades right now. Occasionally we do see trades get made in the middle of the finals. The Al Horford trade that brought Horford back to Boston, Kemba Walker to the Thunder, that happened on June 18th, for example. So that's certainly something that could happen there. Where we could see trades in the finals while that's going on. We about every 3 years or so we get a trade before the finals is over. most stuff picks up draft week. The NBA draft is June 25th. So it'll be right around that period. That's where that'll get going with that. So I think we're in a spot where we'll see that kind of be where things pick up a little bit with this. Let's see here. Just gonna pull some more stuff. Is this going to be the least watched finals? I don't know, but who cares? Like what? Like everybody who complains about this has literally no stake in how many people watch the finals. This seems like one of the dumbest things to care about. It's not, and this is even, I've seen some people say it's like caring about whether a movie makes a ton of money if you liked it. The only reason there where you might care about it is if it's like part of a franchise like the MCU and a bunch of movies start not making money, well, they'll stop making movies. But it's not like the NBA is going anywhere. They just signed, billions of dollars of media rights contracts. So they're fine. They're going to keep, things rolling with this. I don't understand why so many people are so focused on how many people are going to watch or not watch this. Like if you like basketball, it should be a good finals and it should be fun to watch it. Who cares about, all that stuff. Let's see. Just getting into some stuff. Yeah, the Zion stuff is certainly not good. I don't want to get too deep into it because I don't think we know enough yet, but it definitely is not a good situation at all. The reporting that's come out, you could see it. It's all over social media now. I think ESPN has an article up on it as well. So we'll see where things go. If any of it is proven to be true, Zion's should be in pretty big trouble, and it's not going to go well for him, I would hope, because it's really horrible stuff that he's alleged to have done. So we'll see, where it all goes out as it plays out, but none of it is good. Really bad stuff. Let's see here. How can the Lakers solve the Braun problem? Retire or move on already? I don't think they have a Braun problem. He just made All NBA. I don't think he's the problem for the Lakers. That seems a little odd to me. I know Trevor deals with a lot of that, but I don't think that's the issue there with this. When is Giannis getting traded? It'll be sometime, I would guess, draft week or later. So you got a month or so to wait on that. You also asked about KD, same kind of thing. I think those are more likely to be trades that happen in the new league year. Just the, the size of their salaries almost dictates that you have to wait till the new league year on those. Wonderful podcasting there as I had to pause, but flying solo, so you're going to deal with it. Mike says Keith and Noah was a legendary crossover. Two Goats Celtics reporting. Any Boston fans, check out her pod, You Got Boston. The You Got Boston pod and Noah Dalzell's work covering the Celtics for Celtics blog with SB Nation. Her work covering the WNBA for SB Nation is outstanding. She is a rising star in this media landscape. She just does it right. She's at the event. She's talking to the players. She's out there doing the work on the ground that you need to do to be really great at this. And she's going to be big time. So I was very happy to join her pod, and we had a blast talking about it. Who would want Reeves or Rui? Like lots of teams would want those guys. It's just what you're giving up to get them. Austin Reeves is really good. He's at worst, he's a awesome third guard. And that's at worst. And I think he's probably better than that. He's proven to be a perfectly good starter. So I think he is, a really good player. And, I think he's on a pretty good contract. I'd rather get him now than in a year from now or so when the value starts to run out of it a little bit because he needs re-signed. And his contract's a little bit too small to probably be extendable with the type of player he is. But yeah, he's really good. Rui Hachimura, good, solid starter, first forward off the bench type of guy. But I don't know. I'm not sure how many teams are going to be jumping in on Rui Hachimura just because it's a little bit of a weird spot with him. Darren says, if you're the GM, I think you meant GM of the Spurs, would you trade the second round pick or draft Dylan Harper? Yeah, that's really tough. Harper is not a clean fit in a backcourt that already includes De'Aaron Fox and Stephon Castle. So that's your challenge there. When you've got those guys already in place in your backcourt, that makes it a lot harder to bring in a guy like Harper. That said, I'd see what's out there. I would at least listen to offers, and if something really makes sense, sure, I would probably do it. But if it's not going to be something that really makes a ton of sense, then I'd probably just keep it, draft Harper, let it sort itself out, and we'll figure it out down the line with those guys. Because that even now, I think that recently with De'Aaron Fox's next contract, you could, in a world just move forward with Harper and Castle and retrade Fox to fill another need. Phil Brown asked, should the Nuggets target Matt Lloyd as GM? I don't dislike that idea at all. I think Matt's ready. I think he's done this for a long time in a couple different spots now. And I think he is, probably of the assistant GM, and that may not be the exact right titles. Titles get all kind of mixed up here lately, but as long as he's, in that range as an assistant GM, I think he's one of the next guys to come up and get a full-time job with that. Let's see. For the Lakers, if they open up the mid-level, can they stack that with expiring salaries to get a no? You can't combine the exceptions with any other exceptions. So that's if you had two $15 million trade exceptions, you can't put them together and go get a $30 million player. You can't aggregate a $15 million player and a $15 million exception and go get a $30 million player. Only player salaries can be aggregated together, and that's only if you're going to finish under the second apron. So that's the challenge on that one. So I don't think we'll be in a spot where we see anything like that where it gets stacked up there with that one. So let's see. Sorry, jumping around a little bit here. Yeah, good question from Vector Nova with the Dr. Doom avatar. I like it. Hi, Keith. Thoughts on NBA draft withdrawal? Surprised that LeBaron Philon went back. Do you think the NBA should be concerned about NCAA and NIL keeping talent for longer? Thanks. To your first part of the question, Philon, not really. He was going to be probably a early to mid second round pick. So I think that's the range where you go back to school because you're going to make a lot more money than you would make in that range. If he has a big year, then he comes out next year and he'll be a much higher potential first round pick. So that I think works out there for him. Second part of your question, concerned about the NCAA and NIL. I don't think so, because the guys who the NBA teams really want when they're 18 or 19 years old are still coming out. What you're going to get is a handful of guys who are maybe borderline first round picks, like Yaxel Lenborg would have been likely a first round pick. Late though, he went back to school. He's going to Michigan. He's going to make a ton of money at the college level, and then he'll come to the NBA next year. Those guys you miss out on a little bit, but you just move on to the next guy. If it started being like Cooper Flagg stays in school, Dylan Harper stayed in school, VJ Edgecombe, or next year, oh my gosh, the kid who's going to Kansas, or AJ DeBonsa, and those guys start staying in school, then it gets a little more concerning because you're like, all right, we're not getting the top end talent to jump, but those guys are always going to jump. If you're going to be a top 10 pick, you're going to go. It's really, if you're borderline first round, very late first round, or if you're in the second round, those are the guys that have a real decision on staying in school or not. Let's see here. Bobby asked, when do the team tax apron numbers kick in for the next season? Next year, league year. So July 1st, when the league year changes over. Anything that happens between now and July 1st is happening under this current year's salaries, this current year's tax cap apron lines, as well as with this year's rosters as they're set. So anything that happens draft week, including the draft itself, that's why you have what Trevor and I always call hat shenanigans, where a guy gets drafted, it's already been reported he's being traded, but the trade maybe can't go legal till the new league year when the team has an exception or cap space or some reason they have to make the trade. Then that's when you'll see that, and the guys will be kind of hanging out wearing a hat. Everybody knows they're not going to play for that actual team, but it's not legal, so you can't talk about it yet, and it just makes for an uncomfortable, goofy situation. So that is kind of where it is with this. So let's see here. Should the Nets acquire from D-Rock? Should the Nets acquire Zion, and what's the trade? I don't think anybody can do anything with Zion right now, because you got to see what this legal situation is. Darren, can you guys still hear me? See me? Let me know. I think I had an internet glitch there briefly. Somebody in the chat shouted out. As long as you can still hear me. Zion situation is that legal situation is not good. Nobody should be looking to move for Zion until we get a better situation of where that is. With that, you gotta let that play out. So D-Rock, no, I would stay away from Zion for now. Let's see. All right, thanks guys. Appreciate you. IL Farcast, should the league change the over 36 free agent rule? I think you're talking about it's now the over 38 rule that they changed it, where you can only sign guys to so long of a contract when they're over 38, because then what happens is the out years don't really count the way they would. You got to push everything forward with that. So yeah, I think that's what you're talking about, IL. But yeah, if that's where you're at with that, then they've already changed it to over 38. I do think probably in the next CBA, it'll probably get bumped to over 40. We're just seeing so many of these guys now play deeper. It used to be over 34, I think, was where it started when I started doing this. Then it went to 36. Now it's 38. I think we'll see that continue to move a little bit with that one. Let's see. I'm trying to pull questions here. Do you think teams can still build around 2 Supermax guys in the CBA? Yeah, I think so. I think 2, you can build around 3, even if they're the right 3 guys. Like OKC is going to do it. They're going to be, well, maybe not Supermax, but they'll at least have 3 max guys with SGA, Williams, and Chet. And then from there, though, you got to be in the right spot where you can backfill the right way, kind of around those guys and all those things. So, yeah, I think you can. It's just everything else has to fall right for you. Otherwise, it gets a little too messy to get that build out. Let's see. Adrian asks, do you think Portland could be next year's Rockets? I think they're a little further away. Maybe 2 years from now. Rockets really took major steps forward a year ago, and then this season that just ended, then they really launched, I guess, no pun intended. But they really, you could see it was going with them. But Portland's in decent shape. They've got to kind of nail a couple trades, or if the right trades aren't there, they got to just let money come off the books for some of their guys, because they could have as little as like 70 to 80 million on their books next offseason. And that's before anything happens with other guys. So you're only a couple years away from having, major cap space in Portland and really being able to reset in a major way. So I think they're all right. Andrew Double T, thank you for the kind words, Keith, the one-man band. Killed it last solo show. Man, I appreciate him hanging in here as best I can. I struggle without my guy here, but he's off on vacation. He's having a good time, so deserves it. He works really hard. TV says, what should the Magic do, in your opinion? You got to get more shooting and playmaking one way or another. I think getting a backcourt players there. I've done a couple Magic pods recently where I spoke more in depth about this. You can find those on my social media timelines, because I've retweeted them and shared them. Blocked on Magic, and then Close Up Magic were the 2 shows. So, but yeah, I think you can't be precious with your own guys. You got to be willing to trade players that you've drafted and developed, because that's how you're going to get there. But Paolo and Franz have already proved they're the guys. They're good enough. They're ready to go. So I think you gotta get ready to start kind of moving guys. And Jeff Weltman kind of hit on that a little bit, where he said, we're in a different phase now with this. YYC, what's the earliest Tatum can come back? We don't know yet. There's nothing's going to be said on that for several months. There's been some speculation that because he got the surgery almost immediately, and with the way the surgery was done, with the way rehab treatments have changed and all that, this could be more like a 9-month injury, which would have him back potentially in the late March range. I would say playing again. So we'll kind of see where that goes. I can tell you without any question, Boston will not rush him back. If he is ready to play, it'll be because he's 100% cleared and he's ready to play. They will not ask him to play until he is fully ready to go. So that's going to be where they'll go with this, but they're not going to do anything as far as making him play before he's ready or rushing. It won't matter what the standings are, where they're at, or anything like that. They're going to take their time and make sure he is fully right with this. J-Rod says, with how the Bulls lost, I think they're more likely to change the roster, make guys like Nas or other role players more available for the Lakers. Well, I don't know about for the Lakers part of it. They've got real decisions to make this offseason. Julius Randle has a player option. We'll see what happens with that. Nas Reed has a player option. There are worlds where both of those guys opt in and work out something long-term, which is what Rudy Gobert did. There are worlds where those guys opt out and go the free agent route and something gets worked out that way. We'll see what happens with Nickeil Alexander-Walker. That's a really tough one because he's really good. They can pay him, so that's the good news for the Timberwolves. Challenge is how deep into the second apron again are you going to go with this team? I would lean more towards let's keep it together, run it back one more year. Let's give our young guys a little bit more playing time, see if they can lift us as the season goes along and kind of go in that direction because they're close. I mean, they're kind of far away from OKC, but there's no guarantee OKC will be there again next year. J1, what do you think the Lakers will do to help Luka? They're going to go get a big. They're going to get a rim running big man. I don't know who that'll be. Somebody asked, I don't know if I'll be able to find it, but like Brook Lopez, Clint Capella. I think Clint Capella maybe fits a little bit better just with the way his style of play. But yeah, Brook Lopez would be good for the Lakers as well. I think any big that's better than here it is right here, 2 plays. I think the taxpayer mid-level might be a little low, especially for Lopez. Capella might be more there. He had a really rough season, but we'll see where they go. But that's a big definitely is going to be the direction for them. Could the Celtics tank 26 and 27? No, they're not. They're not even going to tank 1 year. They're certainly not going to tank 2 in a row. That's I know you put tank in quotation marks. Tatum will be back for the 26-27 season. He'll be back and ready to go. We don't know exactly what he'll be. Hopefully it'll be pretty close to what he was before he got hurt, but he'll be back then. And then it becomes how quick can you build things back up again, for that year and kind of get up there with that. For you or the Spurs, would you do the second pick in Devin Vassell for Jaylen Brown? I don't know. I would think about it. If I was the Spurs, the challenge is I don't think that works fully math-wise. I think Spurs would have to add a little bit more money into that trade, so we'll see with that there. Dennis, if you were Philly, would you think about taking Queen to back up at center? And he can play some power forward, being that Joel stays injured. If they traded back from 3, they traded let's say the Nets traded up. Sorry, guys, I was losing my voice there. If the Nets traded up with Philly, and I think the Nets have the 8th pick or the 9th pick, if they traded up and gave 2 of their first to move up to 3, or 3 of their first probably would be more likely, then I would think about picking Derek Queen in that range. I would not pick him at 3. I think that's an overdraft, and I like Derek Queen quite a bit, but I would not do that. That feels like an overdraft to me. Could the Pels waive Zion? I read his deal is non-guaranteed starting next year. It should be partially guaranteed. I believe he met his weight clauses to trigger a partial guarantee on next season, but it's like $8 million out of the 30 plus. So the answer is yes, they could waive him, and then he just comes off the books and goes from there. So we'll see with that. Is there any NBA policy on conflicts of interest, like a player agent being the father of an NBA exec? There isn't, no. And we've seen things like that have happened in the past. So yeah, no. With that, you did miss the front office Friday. You have to go back and watch the beginning of the show And then you'll get it there. Let's see. Oh, Sean asks over under 20 sign-in trades this offseason. Under. There won't be 20 sign-in trades. It might be like 7 or 8, but I don't think there'll be 20. Let's see here. Phil says, does MPJ's 3 back surgeries and drop foot make him near impossible to trade plus his contract? I don't think so. I don't think he's impossible to trade. It just takes the right team. It would have to be a team that really needs a forward who can score and doesn't necessarily do a whole lot else, because he hasn't developed as a playmaker and hasn't been the rebounder that I think the Nuggets thought he might be. He's proven to be much more of a big 3 than he is a 4. And that's I think they had always kind of hoped that he would grow into being much more of a power forward, but hasn't happened. So, but it just takes the right kind of team to that's like, man, what we really need is a guy like MPJ. And if they can afford, we can afford him to miss 10, 15 games a season, then you can make it work. Let's see. YKB, do you think there's any truth to the Jrue Holiday interest from the Clippers? Yeah, I do. They were interested in him when he got traded to Boston. So I think they would be interested again. This makes a much more sense than some other teams, because the Clippers are trying to win right now. They can also afford to take in the contract. So yeah, I think there's really. Where's Trevor? Trevor's on vacation. He's on vacation this week. He'll be back on Monday. We're hoping to get into a show on Monday with this. Let's see here. We talked about Zion a little bit already. I'm seeing a couple people ask about that. I'm in there. Can Lakers trade for JA? I don't know who JA is. Jared Allen? Maybe. They'd have to probably give up both firsts in that trade that they can trade. So yeah, that could be something that happens. So yeah, maybe we'll see. It never makes no sense. Ask, can any Wizards vets besides Poole be traded for a first? Does Poole have a market? He does have a market. There are teams that still really like him, potentially. You could get first for him. It probably be like a later first. You might get like a lottery protected or top 20 first for him. So I think that would be the market for him. Other veterans, let's see what Chris Middleton looks like. I think he will opt in, and then let's see what Dory may opt out and then sign a lower number contract, but with a couple years added on, which then turns him into almost a better trade asset. And then what you see with Chris Middleton could be teams may look at it and say, yeah, we really need a scoring wing that can play make a little bit, can defend. Let's go. Same thing kind of with Marcus Smart. If he has a nice year, stays healthy, you could see maybe a late first round pick. If a team was like at the trade deadlines, like, we know our pick's going to be 24th or later, yeah, why not give it up and get a guard who can come right in and help us right away? Who do I view as a better commissioner, Stern or Silver? That's a really good question. I think the question there really comes down to who grew the game more. David Stern was huge in growing the game internationally, and then Adam Silver has taken that to like a whole different level. With that, both of them dealt with a lot of stuff early. Stern came in and was like, I got to figure out how to keep this league going with post Bird and Magic and MJ years, and I think did a really good job with that. I think he was so instrumental on getting players in the Olympics and growing the NBA's the NBA's presence on the international stage was huge. And then Adam Silver came in and immediately had to deal with the David, I can't think of his name now. The Clippers owner, Donald Sterling. I had to deal with that situation right away. And I think, by saying, you're out of here, we're done with you. That's been really good. Stern led the expansion rounds as well. Silver will do that soon. So it's probably pretty close. But David Stern, very different type of commissioners. But I think they've both done a really good job growing the game. Pete says, do you think Detroit is going to do this offseason big swing or run it back? I think probably more run it back. I think they'll be a little bit more conservative. I don't if there's a big move that makes sense for them, sure, jump on it. But I think there's a real chance that they just kind of run it back a little bit and just get into a spot where it is. All right, let's just keep things moving forward. We'll count on Jaden Ivey coming back. That's a big sneaky acquisition, if you will, there because they're not actually acquiring him, but I think that's going to be really good. And then I think it's going to be with them. Another year of growth from Cunningham and Duran and Thompson. Ron Holland, they're super high on him. They're really happy with what he did last year. So that'll be really fun. So yeah, that's going to be interesting. So yeah, I think I think probably run it back, bring back Beasley, bring back Schroeder, and then just kind of move forward that way. Let's see here. Trying to grab questions about different teams, guys, because we get a million Celtics questions, a million Lakers questions. So we're just going to try to go in a different direction a little bit. What does Danny Ainge want for Walker Kessler? Reports were at last year's trade deadline he wanted 2 firsts and a young player. So that's a lot. Don't know that they would get there. I don't think he wants to trade him. I think that's the real answer. I think he wants to keep him because he's young enough that if they pivot away from marketing this year and say, you know what, we're going to bottom this thing out again and go for the draft, then you could keep Kessler and build around him because he's young enough. Do you think Giannis gets traded? I feel he may stay with the Bucks. From Tyler K. Yeah, I think he may stay with the Bucks too. I think there is a world where the Bucks pitch is, hey, we're in the East, and you here with pretty good guys, even without Damian Lillard. That's still better than you're going to get a lot of other places. They're going to have to trade real value to you, and then we kind of go from there. So yeah, it's I think it's I think there is a chance he stays with Milwaukee because I think that might be the best thing for him. Is it true that the Jonathan Kuminga sign and trade deal is more complicated than it looks on the surface? And are there any suitors? Suitors, yes. There are teams that still really like Jonathan Kuminga. Sign and trades are always a little complicated. The single biggest challenge is there's a thing called base year compensation where if Kuminga gets big enough raise, which he is almost guaranteed to off his rookie deal, his contract only counts on the Warriors side as half what he's getting paid. So let's say he gets paid $30 million. He's only going to count as $15 million on the Warriors side in a trade. And then that makes it tough because for the other team acquiring him, he counts for 30. So they have to send out enough. So you got to find the right kind of team that can send the right guys. Obviously, the Warriors would need some kind of value back. So it gets a little tricky with that one. So complicated, but not impossible. They could definitely make that work. Let's see. Sky says, do you have any draft prospects you really like besides the top 3? Yeah, I'm big on Liam McNeely. I think he's going to be a really good player who can really shoot in the NBA. I think he's got great size too. He's actually a pretty good ball handler and passer as well. I think he's going to go like late lottery, and I think a team that gets him is going to be really happy that they did. We talked about Derek Queen earlier in the show. I like him too. He's a big guy. I think it's a little bit more of a modern big man because he can do a lot of things. And he said the other day, I think it might have been in an interview with Kevin O'Connor over at Yahoo, that he's working on his 3-point shot a lot more, and I think he'll get there as a shooter. I'm excited to see ultimately what he becomes. I really like Janai Brooms, been somebody I've been all over for a couple years now. I think he's probably going to get picked maybe late first round, early second round, and I think he should be a first round pick. Older player, but he does kind of everything well. He can shoot a little bit from the outside. He's a really good passer, really good positional defender. He's somebody you can run some offense through a little bit. So I really like him quite a bit. So that's, those are just a handful of names that I like. I'll have more coming out as we get a little bit closer to the draft with stuff. Why do you think a lot of these kids are going back to school? NBA teams seem to not like drafting older guys. So 2 things here. The reason I go back to school, making way more money out of NIL. Some of these guys are making $5 to $10 million in NIL deals, which is way more than they would make in any kind of second round contract or on a two-way contract. So that's the number one reason they're going back. And then if you can go back and improve your draft stock and play your way into the first round, now all of a sudden you've made 5 million NIL money, and then you're going to make a guaranteed 5 to 8 million on your rookie scale deal, even if you're drafted late first round. So that's huge. Teams not drafting older guys. There are a lot of teams that are changing in that. Contenders who generally are drafting later in the first round, a lot of them are more willing to take on an older player because an older player may be ready to plug in the rotation more right away. It can help them immediately versus a real guy who's like, all right, there's a developmental prospect that we really need to work with. Teams that have multiple first round picks like Brooklyn this year, a little more open to taking on an older player because you can't bring on 4 19-year-olds. It's just probably not going to go well for you as a team. So you may be okay with bringing in a 22-year-old as one of those guys. So it's a little bit of a change in the air there with that change in the weather, whatever that saying is. Diego asks, what would be the probable teams to trade with Spurs if they try to trade their number 2 pick? Which players? Cheers from Paris. So thanks for checking in from Paris. I'd say something in French, but I don't want to be insulting, and I don't know French. So, but it's let's see. The challenge is, I think if the Spurs are trading 2, I think they want a win now guy, like somebody who can really push them to the next level. So then you're talking Giannis, KD. I don't. They're not going to go the Trae Young route now because they're De'Aaron Fox, but that's like it's players like that. So those would be the teams that maybe if they want to move number 2. Giannis, you'd certainly have to move number 2. I don't think they would move number 2 in even a KD trade. I think they'd try to do that with some of their other draft capital and some players. But yeah, I don't think they're gonna. I don't think they're gonna move number 2 though. I think they're probably gonna stick right there and then kind of go with that. Let's see. Quantrell says, are the Brooklyn Nets more likely to make a draft day trade to go up or trade for a current star? They're not going to trade for a current star. I think they're pretty committed this time to they're going to rebuild through young players and through the draft and move up. They're going to try certainly to move up. Challenge is, in order to move up, you need somebody who's willing to move back. And the Nets picks they're okay, but none of them are great. There's none where it's like, yeah, we can do this. If anything, it might be packaging 2 of the later ones that are in like the 20s to get higher up into the 20s or late teens. But I don't think you're going to see them make a major jump into like the top 5 or anything. Sean says, do specific teams work with specific agents, then inversely tend to avoid dealing with other agents or agencies? To an extent. I will say this. I've had multiple GMs tell me some version of if you cut off any one agency, you're just going to cause yourself problems down the line. You just don't cut anybody out entirely. But yeah, you certainly see some of the people go, and it's the same way that teams tend to go back to the same trade partners more often, especially if it's like smaller type trades or, hey, we need a third team as a facilitator in a trade, those kind of things. Because when you have a comfort level, it just makes everything easier to deal with, whether it's signing a player or making a trade or anything like that. So that's kind of how that works is they'll go back. I wrote a thing for Spot Track a couple of years ago. You can Google it and find it. It's most common trade partners. It's a little out of date because we've had some front office changeover since then with a handful of teams, but it gives you a sense of how often some folks deal with the same people because they clearly like trading with those people because you're not negotiating through the media. You're just kind of getting into a good place with this. Let's see. There we go. Keith, I think you do a great job. You explain well and educate us. AR 15 in a second for Bobby Portis. Would Portis fit in well with Luke and Braun? And I don't know what the rest of that means. I'm assuming that means U.S. Navy retired. You can educate me more on that. I apologize. I don't know exactly what that means. If it does, thank you for your service. Appreciate that. Yeah, if I was the Bucks, I would do that. that's kind of stealing value. If I'm Milwaukee, I'm getting a good younger guard that I can, you're not building around, but he can certainly be part of whatever we build up next. So I think that'd be pretty good with that. So yeah, I would do that for an instant. Portis fit in well with Luka and Braun. Yeah, he's not an ideal big because he's not really like a rim runner for them, and he's not a defensive big, but he could space the floor a little bit, step out. My issue is you already kind of have Dorian Finney-Smith in that role, so I'm not sure you want to go that route because he's not really a five. So I think I'd probably skip with that a little bit there. Tony PR says, come on. Oh, there we go. Can you explain draft trades? Is it with this year's numbers or next year's? Does apron implications still apply? Everything before July 4th is still this current year. So everything is the current salaries, current everything. Draft picks themselves have a value of 0 until they're signed, and you can't sign those guys until after July 1st. So well, I guess you could sign them when it's made, but it doesn't kick in until after July 1st. So you're just in a spot where once you kind of make the pick, it's draft rights that you're trading, or if you trade the pick prior, you're trading the pick, and that isn't a thing there. So I think you're in a spot where it's you see those are very easily made because you're not trading any salary when you're trading out a draft pick or draft rights. But everything that will be that's made official at the draft will be done this year. You'll hear me and others say things like, all right, let's see if this trade's going through now because legally it can be made today and it can be done at, in this league year. And there's sometimes that's better to get it done in the league year and then start the next year clean. And then there's other times where it is, nope, you got to wait till the next league year because you need cap space or an exception or something like that. Guys, stop arguing in the chat. It's Friday. We're having fun. Front office Fridays, fun time. We don't argue in this. Let's see here. Do I see the Heat moving Bam? Not this summer, I don't think. I think we'll see it be in a spot where we kind of go there with that. So I think we'll wait a little bit before we see them move Bam, but I don't think that will be how that goes down. Does the come on? Sorry, it's sticking on me here. I don't know why the thing. There we go. Jaden says, does the Stepien rule apply to pick swaps? Always wondered that. Can I trade 2030 swap in 2031 first unprotected? You can. You just have to have a pick every other year. That's really where it works out too. That's what the Stepien rule means. You don't have to have your own pick. You just have to have a pick. So like Oklahoma City right now, they'd be hard pressed to trigger the Stepien rule, but you have to have a guaranteed pick. You can't have like your only thing be a lottery protected first in a given year, because if you lose it, then you don't have any pick. If you didn't have a pick the year prior or the year after. But here's the important thing: the year prior resets once that year has passed. So the minute teams make their picks in this draft, for example, the Mavericks at number 1, when they pick Cooper Flagg at number 1, they could trade their 2026 first if they have it available to trade. They could trade that away because that once the pick's in the rear view window mirror, it's already done. It's already gone. So it doesn't look, it only looks forward. So you just have to have a pick. And why you get the swaps is because if you traded 2029 and 2031, you can't trade 2030. So what you offer is a swap in between there. And those swaps sometimes end up huge. That's in part how Boston got Tatum and Brown was through draft swaps. Let's see. Thoughts on Bobby Marks saying he believes Nickeil Alexander-Walker is the odd man out in Minnesota? Yeah, I think there could be some truth to that. I think if anybody is going to be the one who goes, I think he's probably going to be the guy that they say, yeah, we've got Shannon in place. We've got Jalen Clark, who they really like. We've got Rob Dillingham, who we're going to play more. So we've got kind of backcourt coverage. So I think they feel like maybe, yeah, Alexander Walker could be the guy who goes this year. So we'll see. With that one. it's more likely that happens than anything else. If you send out cash for a pick, do you get hard cap to the second this year or next year? This year. Anything that happens prior to July 1st is this year. Nothing changes. It's just this year with that. So yeah, just that's the easiest way to remember it. It impacts everything for this year until July 1st. If it's happening July 1st and later, it's all on the next league year. If it's happening before that, it happens in this league year. Rui and AR to Cleveland for Allen and Okoro. I don't know if it works, J1, but I don't think Cleveland would do that. Here's the issue with Reeves. For Cleveland, he's the third guard for them. And I don't know that you can ever play him, Mitchell, and Garland together. And now you've weakened your front court significantly to upgrade your backcourt, but not in a way that is a massive upgrade to your backcourt. So that's where I think it starts to become a little bit of a challenge because you can't put all those guys in there. Andy says, which team do you see most likely to not make moves that was expected to be very active? Spurs always feel like a good answer for this. They tend to just be a lot more conservative with those things. So yeah, I don't know. I think you got to be a little more careful with them than with a lot of other teams. If 2K had a good My GM mode, would you do a playthrough on Twitch? Probably not. I'm not set up to do that. I don't know. I do watch people play games sometimes. There's somebody I'm watching play through one of the Final Fantasy games right now, which has been a lot of fun. And then I watch a lot of people do the GTA RP stuff. Like if I'm killing time, because it keeps my brain active and engaged and gives me something to laugh at for a little bit there. Luke, love this show. Keith, thank you. Appreciate that. What type of deal do you see Kyrie doing in Dallas with them so close to the second apron? 3 for 120. It's exactly what I projected in that would give them about $5 million under the second apron. And then they don't have a ton more roster spots to fill. So getting Cooper Flagg moving up to number 1, awesome. Nothing the Mavs would ever undo, but it took $8 million and change more on the books. And that's tough. Like that is, that's a big number. So that just made things a lot tighter for them. Of course, the trade-off is you got Cooper Flagg, so you don't really care. You know, when no one's complaining, no one's going to feel bad about it. But yeah, interesting spot with them with that. Darren Flowers, what do you think about Carter Bryant to the Spurs with the 14th pick? Yeah, I'd love that pick for them. Him, Colin Murray Boyles. I think those guys would both fit in really well in San Antonio. And it gives them a little bit of a, if things got weird with Jeremy Sohan moving forward, you could then move off him relatively easy and then get in a spot with that one there. J1, I get that, but you didn't say Garland would be gone in a separate deal, so we can only evaluate what you give me with those ones there. Yeah, we'll get there though. We'll get there down the line. Favorite second round sleepers? That's a really good question. The kid who I just did my scout on this week, Kobe Sanders out of Nevada. I really like this guy. He's about a 6'8" forward, but he can do a lot of different stuff at his size. He was a pretty good playmaker last year. He played at a lower level like Cal Poly the years before. Really kind of your more traditional prospect. Came in, young kid, played a little, got a little bit better as a sophomore, a little bit better as a junior, then really exploded as a senior, used his COVID year to move to Nevada at a higher level league and produced even, just as good there. His one issue is he doesn't shoot it real well, but he's been a really solid free throw shooter and his form doesn't look broken. And he also played really well at the Portsmouth Invitational, the Pit. So I like him quite a bit as a potential second round sleeper. Diego, that's a kid I would maybe keep an eye on. We'll see. I don't know if he gets drafted or not. Let's see. What will the Jazz do to clear roster spot for next season? Yeah, that's a little bit of an issue for the Jazz. It's an issue for the Thunder. It's an issue for the Magic. All these teams have all these additional picks over the years, and it sounds awesome to have 1 million draft picks. you have to use them all and draft these guys. So I think all those teams are, like the Jazz aren't going to move out of 5. But I think we'll see, an idea where maybe they start moving, some other guys. I wouldn't rule out Markkanen getting moved. I don't know that he's going to be, but I certainly think, he may be, with this. So we'll see with that. It's we'll see where that goes, with that one. And then, the Thunder and Magic, I think you might see both of them make, I like to call it kick the can down the road type trades, where it is you trade a first now for a first in a future year or something like that. Just because roster spots are going to be a major issue with this. Andy followed up to his other question, which teams do I expect to be the most active this offseason? Boston's going to be. They're not going to stand pat with what they have. They're going to do some stuff. I think there is a chance we see really active teams. Like I think Phoenix is going to do some stuff, certainly with Kevin Durant. Brooklyn's going to be super active just because they have $60 million in cap space. I think you're going to see Minnesota do some things. I think Cleveland could get involved in some stuff. But I think I think it's going to be an extremely busy offseason, especially with trades. How does trading cash work? Is it how much cash you have below the next apron? No, it's a set amount each year that you can send out and take back in trades. But if you send out cash in a trade, it triggers a second apron hard cap. So teams over the second apron can't use cash in a trade to buy a pick. That would not be allowed. I'm sorry, guys. I'm losing my voice a little bit here. I've done a lot of podcasts today, a lot of radio today, and now flying solo. MC, what's my favorite Final Fantasy game? Yeah, that's a great question. I love Final Fantasy. It's one of my favorite things. I like 6 and 9. I think they have the kind of the more fun stories. They're a little more cartoony. I like it when it's a little more cartoony than it is gritty and real. In Final Fantasy, and I think they both have really cool stories. I think 6 with the massive cast of playable characters that you do stuff. Yeah, I love I love that game. It's a lot of fun. Let's see here. Mario says, are you excited for First Step? Yeah, super excited for Fantastic Four. I'm going to be really pumped. It comes out. I forget what the date is on. Somebody probably knows offhand in chat, but it comes out, I think, right. Why can't I find it? I can't find it now. Whenever it comes out, though, I know it comes out around Summer League-ish. So there it is, the 25th. I'll be just getting home from Vegas on a trip, so I will be there probably opening day that morning to watch there before it gets busy. Did I watch Last of Us? I did not. I have it queued up, but I heard such bad things. I'm not sure I'm going to even go back to it. I really liked the first season, but I'm a little, I don't know. I don't think I'm going to go back to the next year. The world has to know, have you seen the Minecraft movie? No, I have not seen the Minecraft movie. I'm not going to. That's way after my time playing those kind of games, so I don't really understand those. So I'm not gonna play that at all, or see that at all. I should say. I've never played it either. Nets have 5 picks in this draft. Yeah, it's a lot. They're definitely gonna do something. I think they're gonna do some kind of package deal, or they'll trade a pick for future picks or something like that. They're certainly not gonna take that many rookies in under there with that. So where's Trevor? Trevor's on vacation this week. So I'm seeing more. You guys posting more about the Zion stuff. Yeah, none of this is good. This is all really, really bad, unless it's all proven to be completely false. Then I guess we're okay with that, because if it was false. But I don't think it's I don't want to go there because we don't know that. So if any of it is true, it's bad. Really, really bad. So not good for him, not good for the league, not good there. Trevor's on vacation. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to say where Trevor is on vacation. Come on, what do you think I'm crazy? He can tell you if he wants, but I'm not going to say where he is. Which team's more likely to move west? With I think you meant move to the east. Minnesota or Memphis? Yeah, we don't know yet. We'll see. I think that's going to be a major fight in the league is which team moves east. I think that's going to be when expansion comes, assuming it's Vegas and Seattle. I think we are going to get a major fight with that. So yeah, we'll see with that one. All right, I'm going to finish with this one because I love it. Keith, we need a new champ for one of the guys. Last year was your guy. Oso. I love Oso. It has to happen naturally, though. And I fell in love with Oso like a year ahead when I was watching him play for that Marquette team. And then really liked him in his last year at Marquette, and then was so happy when he got drafted and to see his impact. So it'll happen naturally. We'll see. We'll see if anybody strikes me like that. But we'll see with that one. So yeah, I love that guy though, man. I think just play him and Ryan Dunmore next year. Almost no matter what you do, play those two guys more, and you'll be all right. All right, guys, we're gonna wrap it up because I'm losing my voice. And the questions are starting to get a little crazy. All right, well, I'll do one more because it's a really good question. Would the NBA have to hold a vote to see who moves? Yeah, that'll be part of the expansion conversation. Will be what happens with that. So yeah, it'll be there, and then they'll kind of go from there. Yes, Seattle keeps their history to answer a couple other things. The Thunder basically knew Seattle would get a team eventually, so they basically said they will leave that Seattle Supersonics history in Seattle. They basically consider their franchise history starting when they started in Oklahoma City after they moved to there. But yes, it's going to have to be a vote. The Board of Governors will be involved, be part of the expansion process. We'll be deciding how things go. We don't know what the divisions, conferences, we have no idea what that'll look like. I personally think the league will use that as a chance to really reset quite a bit of the way they do all things, scheduling, conferences, all that stuff, because it's just a really nice point to start in a new direction, and we'll see where that goes. But all right, guys, I appreciate y'all hanging out with me here for about an hour on a Friday, good front office Friday edition. We had some fun. We'll see what happens with when Trevor gets back next week. We'll be back hopefully Monday. We'll kind of see what it looks like if he's back home in time to get a show in. Otherwise, we'll see you later in the week, and we're getting closer to off-season time. But next week we'll be into the NBA finals starting and all that stuff. So it's going to be absolute blast going into the finals and then the off-season. You guys know that's where we live. That's what we do. So thanks for hanging out here with me on Front Office Friday. We'll see y'all guys later. What does Trevor say? Stay safe and see ya.